Rick, how did you get into cutting wood?
Man, so it's kind of an interesting story, to be honest with you. You know, I grew up with it, right? So my dad um, is a carpenter, almost like a master carpenter. I call him like um, the Norm Abrams of the household, right? So he didn't do it full time. He did it as a hobby, but he was sort of a master of the craft. So I grew up with it, right?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
The interesting thing is, I was never interested in it growing up at all. It never fascinated me. I was surrounded by it 24/7. Every now and then I'd help my dad with projects, but just nothing I ever really got into. And it wasn't until my 30s that I took somewhat of interest in it. And so we're sitting in his house one day and watching a football game. We're Philadelphia Eagles fans, so we're watching the Eagles game, and he comes out of the kitchen with this cutting board that he built. Now, this is back in 2009, right? So Facebook is the only social media platform pretty much out there. And nobody's really doing cutting boards like they are today, right? So everyone's doing cutting boards right now. It's sort of a gateway project into woodworking. And so he shows us his cutting board, and my brother, my twin brother, who also does we're both like, huh, that's crazy. This is really nice. And so we were just talking, and one thing led to another. And we sort of got interested. So that day ends. The next day I'm at work, and my brother sends me an email with a picture of a cutting board online. It was like $200. He's like, dude, look at this. Like, people are making these and getting $200 for these. And they're fairly straightforward to make. So we had no equipment at this point. Talked to my dad about it. My dad's like, look, he goes, I'll teach you how to make this. It's fairly straightforward. It's very easy, actually. So like, okay. So he's like, get some money together, buy some very basic tools, a chop saw, a desktop planer, desktop joiner, and I'll show you how to do it. 2 weeks later, comes over to the house, shows us how to make a very basic cutting board. And we're just like sort of shocked about how easy it was. Now, granted, there is a skill to it, right? Because, you have to learn how to properly use a planer and a joiner and keep things square and glue ups and things like that. But the process itself is pretty straightforward. So even at that point, I didn't have a passion for woodworking. I had an interest in more along the lines of making some extra money. I just got married at the time. We were starting a family, and I was like, this might be a good way to start making money. And we did it for a couple of years. We had a business. It was semi-successful only because we didn't do it full time. We did it as a hobby. And again, you know, we sold it through word of mouth on Facebook. That was the only social platform. There wasn't YouTube. There wasn't Instagram and all that. It wasn't Marketplace. It was just sort of word of mouth. And so we started selling it. But again, no passion in it. In fact, a lot of times when we get big orders, it was almost like, oh, got to go back out in the garage and make these things. So that's how I got started. We did it for 2 years. And after 2 years, we came to a crossroads where it was busy enough where we had to make a decision, quit our full-time jobs and take this on and make pennies on the dollar from what we were making on a full-time job, or sell the business. So we end up selling, sold the business, end up keeping the equipment. And the equipment just sort of sat in the garage for a while. Sorry, do you hear background noise?
No, do you?
Oh, no, my son and his friend are outside the shop here, so
Oh
I
no, it's not
apologize.
bad.
All right,
Yeah,
so give me a
it's not
heads
too
up.
bad.
But anyway, so sold the business. I kept the equipment, and for a couple years, it just stayed stagnant in the garage until I picked up a Craig jig, a pocket hole jig. And that's when my world changed, right? Pocket hole jig, I consider the one of the greatest gateway tools into woodworking. And using the pocket jig, making basic tables, basic cabinets, that's where the passion started for me for woodworking. So to make a very long story short, it probably wasn't until I was 35 years old, even though I was surrounded by it my whole life. I had a woodworking business. But it wasn't until after those two things that I really started getting a passion for it, which is very odd because for the 2 years I was doing woodworking, I didn't truly enjoy it. And I
Hmm.
think it was just the monotony of doing the same thing over and over and over again with the cutting boards. But once I got the Craig jig and once I realized that, hey, I can do this, right? I can learn this skill. And the Craig jig taking the terror out of, learning how to do, you know, normal joinery, hand cut joinery, things like that, just made it so much easier. And that's where it took off.
Hmm.
And I've just sort of, that was like a jumping point for me. And every year since then, the passion has gotten more and more and more. And now I'm borderline obsessed with being in the shop and building.
Well, you've definitely moved beyond pocket holes.
I know. And it's interesting. Like I still have all my pocket hole jigs. I got the Craig Foreman, the big production pocket hole, and it's sitting in my shed right now. And it's collecting dust. This is a jig that I would use on a daily basis, literally a daily basis, up until COVID hit. Once COVID hit, and we can get into that. That's where um, I made a decision to jump into the finer side of woodworking. But right
Okay.
now, I owe a lot to the Craig jig, and Craig and pocket hole jigs get a bad rap. And to a degree, there's certain types of builds they shouldn't be used on, but in general, anybody getting into woodworking, the first thing I say, go get a pocket jig, because it'll teach you the absolute standards and the basics enough to give you the confidence to sort of progress through the stages. But absolutely loved it when I was using it, and spent years using it, building
Yeah. Yeah. It's a pretty useful tool still.
with it.
For
Still, yeah, it is. Yeah,
I mean, I always have the little mini one in one of my bags somewhere.
yeah. The
Just for
mini
that
one
time, you're
always
like, I
floats
need it
around.
quick, I need it dirty, I need it
Yeah,
done.
yeah, especially for like table aprons and things like that. I mean, there's always a need for it, always. So I
Hmm.
have a couple mini ones floating around, but it's been a while since I used it. But everything that I've done up until this point, I can contribute back to what I've learned using
Well, I was surprised when you told me that you were not full time because your work does not reflect that.
the Craig. Well, I appreciate it, and so I do spend. So I do have a full-time job. I do have an 8 to 5 job. I'm in the healthcare sector right now. Um, and so it's full-time, 5 days a week. And so what's interesting is my builds that I'm doing right now, I'm averaging around 80 to 120 hours per build. And with a full-time job, there's a lot going on. So a lot of the time that I spend in the garage comes after hours. Once the workday ends, and especially if it's a school year, kids have homework, kids have sports. So sometimes it's not even until 7:30, 8 o'clock at night that I get into the garage. And some nights I'll pull an all nighter in the garage. But that's how obsessed I am with this craft right now, especially with everything that I'm learning. I just can't get enough of it. And so a lot of my personal time is being sacrificed, which I don't mind. I'm not saying that I regret it in any way, shape, or form, but most of my effort comes in the later hours and early morning hours, just to get in the shop and be able to have some time to do some things here. But I would love to be able to take it full time. Um, I may not have the best business plan to do this because one thing that I learned in the cutting board business is one thing I learned that I don't like is the commissions aspect of building, taking orders, and building from orders where people have very specific design elements, very specific time frames. Even though it's guaranteed money, um, I don't like that. It's a high stress environment to me, and I don't enjoy that type of build. So my very unorthodox business plan would be, if I were to go full time in this, it had to be something around the fact that I build to sell, meaning I come in the garage, I create whatever it is that's on my mind, whatever I design, and then I sell that. It's not the best business plan, but what I don't want to do is take a step and do it full time and instantly regret it because my life is full of anxiety, with commission builds where I'm sort of up against the wall from a design element and a timeline.
Mm. Is any of your work in studios?
Not right now. I, so I do have some commission pieces that I like to get into studios just for visibility's sake, but I don't. But again, I'm not actively pursuing that avenue. There's so much going on right now that I want to get involved with, studios being one of them, but just haven't had the opportunity to do it yet.
Hmm. Because it does seem as if you're not building furniture, you're building art.
I appreciate that. I think I'm getting a little crazy with it, to be honest with you. I've done right now, so I'm learning the marquetry side of things
Yeah, yeah.
within woodworking. And to tell you I'm itching to do inlays and marquetry with every piece of furniture I build is an understatement. I just built a supply cabinet that's all marquetry. I'm building right now a um, for a mini fridge. This is the base of
Oh
it's
my
all
gosh.
marquetry and so this is actually a commission which I had full design freedom on it, and they basically just wanted a simple cabinet to house a mini fridge. And I said, I'll do it. I said, but if you're giving me complete design freedom on it, then I want to do it my way. And they 100% agree with it, but I'd go overboard with it because I'm loving the marquetry aspect of it. So everything I do now is either has some type of inlay element, marquetry element, some type of banding, some type of art element to it. I think gone are the days where I will build what's called naked furniture, I guess, a piece that is just wood and
Mm,
no type of embellishment on it,
mm.
which is sort of how I grew up in this. But I'm loving the marquetry side. I'm still very new to it, but every chance and every opportunity that I get, I'm just, you know, putting marquetry in all my projects.
Yeah. Well, it seems though, with that amount of work and care, it seems like positioning yourself as an artist versus a furniture maker, would be a good, you know, branding move.
Yeah,
Um,
it
the
might.
ability to charge art prices versus custom furniture prices.
That's true because one of the things, as you probably know too, is, I've gone over the years, I've gone back and forth on my prices, on my hourly rates, and there's just really not a big market for custom furniture. Well, there's a market for custom furniture. There's not a market for people willing to pay fair price for it.
Hmm. Hmm.
So it's a good point. So marketing from the art aspect of it, that might be a good. I mean, that might be a good opportunity. That's a good idea. Actually,
And I
never
think if
thought of
you
it
were to
that way.
develop like a specific style, I mean, you already do have quite a unique style. But the more it kind of gets defined, I could imagine that being like, oh, if you want that sort of piece, you go to Rick.
Yeah. So it's funny you said because I am trying to define a style. And again, I'm still new at this. I know what I like. I know what I don't like. And it's interesting because what I like and what I don't like just switched within the last 6 months, um, because
Speak
of,
more on
of
that.
marquetry. So, so I used to enjoy minimum embellishments on furniture. So if you take styles like the federal style, where it's a beautiful piece of furniture, very minimal embellishments, not there's hardly any marquetry in it. There are some design elements to it, but um, it's the less is more concept, right? Whereas you take something like a Chippendale piece where it is just embellishment on top of embellishments. And I never used to like that because it was so busy. And so I sort of went towards the federal style or the Sheraton style because it's a build with minimum embellishments. Now, as I'm going through this, now as I'm learning the marquetry aspect of it, and I'm getting somewhat proficient at it, I'm starting to switch roles. I look at pieces now that I've made in the past, and I'm like, that could have used a little bit more. And so now with this build, I'm doing this cabinet for the mini fridge. The amount of embellishment that's going to go into this. A year ago, if you had told me I would have been into this, I would have told you were lying. And there's been a switch over the past 6 months where I've sort of gotten away from the less is more and I've gone to the more is more mentality, which can make or break a piece, right? So I'm trying to find that balance where I can incorporate what I want to incorporate, but sort of keep the romance of the piece too, not just kill it with so much embellishment. So I'm still learning that. I'm still learning my style. Still very early on.
Yeah. Yeah. Has keeping your job allowed you to focus more on the artistry and crafts side of things versus having to
Uh,
hustle to make that money, making every
oh yeah,
piece
oh absolutely. So thankfully I don't rely on any revenue that's generated from woodworking to be a part of my daily survival, right? To pay the bills or put food on the table. This is all just disposable income at this point, which is nice. But I'm not at the point now where I'm generating enough of it to do the full-time gig. But so having the full-time job, it's a stress relief, even though it prevents me from doing normal shop hours. But having it, it's a nice safety net, right? It's an
hmm
absolute nice safety net. It allows me to buy the equipment that I need, or the lumber that I need, but I'm not struggling to.
Hey guys, hope you're enjoying the show. If you are and you want more, there is an after show where we get a little bit more into the meat and potatoes. Head on over to Instagram, follow the Craft and Business Podcast, and shoot me a DM with one word, Rick, and I will send you the after show.
Maybe I don't buy walnut because I got to save margin on this project so I can make more money at the end of the day. I don't have to worry about that right now, which is nice. It's nice to have that ability to do it. So the full-time job, although from a time allowance perspective, it sort of stinks, but outside of that, it keeps the nerves at bay.
Yeah. Do you think things would be different if you didn't have a family?
Mm, that's a great question. I guess it would be because you know weekends are sports, birthday parties like I just had for my son, homework at night, to do it without um, having any of these responsibilities, then yeah, I'd be able to. Um, I mean, maybe I'd be able to do it full time because you don't have that added responsibility of all these additional expenses. Plus, my shop time I wouldn't be in the shop midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning. It'd be more, like a 5 o'clock in the afternoon type thing. Um, but what's nice about it is some of my kids have expressed interest in this craft, which is like,
Ah,
that's what makes it worth it. So my daughter, who is going to ninth grade, is actually taking wood shop, and she picked it out of the blue. Out of all the electives she could take, she's picking wood shop. So I mean, that means the world to me, you know.
yeah.
So as much as I'd like to have the additional time like that, you can't put a price on something like that. That's absolutely incredible.
That's great to hear that there's woodshop available.
And it surprised me because at the end of the day, I'm like, I had this conversation with somebody about a year and a half ago. I'm like, they need to bring back shop class into high schools, whether it's automotive shop or wood shop or metal shop. And here, out of the blue, I just found out that we actually have a woodworking course in high school. So very excited about that.
It does seem like there's a little bit of a reinsurgence of interest in working with your hands and in craftsmanship in general,
Yeah.
which is exciting because it seems like for generations we've been telling our kids you better get good grades, otherwise you might end up on a job site.
Yeah, job site. Exactly.
Yeah,
Some you
yeah.
might be working as a electrician or a trade, which I am all for the trades. I have brothers who are masons. Me and the woodcraft. My dad was a mechanic for 50 years. I mean, if my kids were to come to me and take a trade position, I would absolutely. As a matter of fact, if you look at the way the world's going right now with AI and everything else, like I'm in finance and healthcare. And
Mm.
it's scary to see where AI is taking you. So to have something like this to fall back on is huge. So, with the kids, this generation, picking the right job and skill set's going to be a lot more critical than it was when we were. So it's going to be interesting to see how things play out. But I am all for the trades, 100% for the trades.
Yeah, and we're running out of tradespeople faster than they're coming online right now.
Yeah, so I have a brother who's an instructor, Mason instructor, for the union, and it seems
Oh
like
wow.
even that's sort of down right now. And I know they're looking for guys to come in, and yeah, so we'll see. So with AI coming in, I hopefully there's a resurgence with the trade. Hopefully there
Yeah,
is. Auto
yeah.
mechanics. There's a huge shortage of auto mechanics where we are. So it's crazy how it is right now from the trade aspect.
Yeah. And it seems like yeah, the financial opportunities just going up and up as well.
Yeah, yeah, you're
It's
right. You
hard.
mean from the trade aspect?
Yeah, it's hard to find
Yeah,
somebody that's willing and able and skilled and responsible to come in and work and fix your house.
that's the point. Yes. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And we I think we've all been down that road before, and it's unfortunate. And to find someone who is responsible enough to do it. I mean, there's a lot of money to be made in the trade, especially in the carpentry trade or the electrical trade or plumbing trade. You get these guys who are honest. There's a fortune to be made out there only because of the stereotype that's out there right now, and it's unfortunate. But you find a guy who is good at what he does, honest guy. I mean, they're hard to come by.
Yeah.
It's a shame. It's a shame.
And if that's you listening,
I hope that's
there's
you.
I
Listen,
mean
yeah, yeah,
there is tons of money to be. I mean, yeah, it is hard. So many of my clients, because I work a lot with individual homeowners doing a lot of repair work,
yeah.
um, and they have. I mean, it's just story after story of
Horror
the
stories.
guy that
Yeah,
doesn't show up. I mean, he hasn't shown up for a week, even though he said he was
yeah,
going to. And
yeah.
when he does, he can't actually accomplish the job, or he's an asshole, or XYZ.
Or you got to bring somebody else in behind him to fix what he did wrong. Yeah, I mean it's
Yeah,
crazy. In fact, the amount of stuff that I do, I take pride in being able to do a lot of things in the house myself. And I'll
Mhm.
I'll admit it. I've gone on YouTube and figured out how to do this, that, and the other thing. But it's at the point now where first of all, I'm terrified of heights. If I don't have to get on the roof, I will try to figure it out myself. If I had to get on a ladder, then I might bring somebody else in. But it's to the point now where right, there's a trust issue, and so I end up doing a lot of things myself. I'll YouTube it and figure it out and get it done. And the skill set that I've learned by doing that, just I mean, home ownership. That's all it is learning how to take care of the house. Even new construction nowadays, it's not just turnkey, move in, ready. I mean, you're moving in, even new construction, and there's stuff that has to get done too. So it's a nice skill set to have.
Yeah, I mean, I've actually these new homes that are going up are being put up, not all of them, but a lot of them fairly um, a lesser quality than they used to be
Yeah,
constructed.
yeah.
And I mean, I've shown up on fairly new jobs. I'm like, why is the why is the sight line just so crooked? Um, Unfinished painting peeling off the walls that's brand new. Just
Okay.
so many issues, and so there's going to be a lot of these homes that are going to need repair.
Yeah, yeah.
Quicker and quicker.
Yep. Yeah, there's a huge market for it. I mean, first of all, guys coming out of school and going to the trade, like there's a need for that right now. Yeah, I hear that a lot talking to my stepbrothers. But like I said, with the mechanics, I mean, there's a fortune to be made. If you got the right mindset and work, first of all, work ethic to me, number one, because you can pretty much teach anybody anything. If you don't have that work ethic, that's where it all goes out the window. So finding the work ethic to me it's so important. And the work ethic right now, that's out there leaves a lot to be desired. In most cases, not every, obviously there are great guys out there. We have a guy, a contractor, a good friend of mine who does phenomenal work. We found him. That's why he's a good friend of ours, because he does phenomenal work. And there are guys and girls out there that you can absolutely trust to get the job done. But you do hear a lot of horror stories out there, and it'd be nice to be able to sort of swing that pendulum back the other way. Um, Especially now with AI coming, a lot of people are going to school right now for computer science and finance and things like that. And it's scary to think where that's going to be in 5 years, with AI. I use AI with woodworking right now with some of my
Mhm.
designs. I mean, it's you could do anything. You could do
Mhm.
anything with it. So,
I mean, AI is a great leveraging tool.
yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it certainly is.
I mean,
Yeah.
utilizing it for this podcast has been incredible.
Okay.
Yeah. Whether it's taking show notes or, I mean, even this app actually that we're recording through, when we finish, so this is recording on your side and on my side, it'll upload both to the cloud, mix them together, and then it will even cut up clips and make shorts.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it'll listen to the conversation, analyze what parts it thinks is interesting, and then it'll even cut back from camera to camera. And so it'll
Man,
crank
that's
out a bunch of
hilarious.
shorts in like 5-10 minutes, and then I can print the transcript, put the transcript into Chat GPT, and then run that and say make show notes, whatever it may be. Make
That's
some headlines
wild.
for the social, or some comments for the social media posts, all sorts of things. And
That's
it's
yeah,
yeah, and I think it's a great tool to have us to help start or finish a project, but then having your own input and eyes on it, not just hitting give me the answer and then copy paste.
right, right, right. Yeah, 'cause I do the same thing with marquetry designs, floor marquetry designs. Like I'll go into
Oh,
ChatGPT and I'll type in a 2 paragraph, whatever, get some ideas, and then take that as a base and sort of finish the rest. Um,
interesting.
but it's wild. I spent I used to do a lot of YouTube videos. I'm getting back into YouTube.
Oh, good.
This project will be my first YouTube video in probably half a year. But the one thing, one of the biggest reasons why I got away from YouTube videos is because of the editing. It's just the
Mm.
amount of time that goes into editing YouTube videos. I'm in here to all hours of the morning, and then to stop at the end of that and doing hours worth of editing, I'm just like, I'm fried, I'm toasted. And so then my editing gets backed up, backed up, backed up. And then before you know it, I got to spend a whole weekend just trying to get stuff done. So got a little more efficient with it, but it's interesting how you do it here with the AI helping you. So I'll have to look into that because any help I can get doing editing would be great at this point.
And it's getting so so good so fast. It seems like every
Yeah.
day there's something new released that, like, oh wow, now it solved this problem that it couldn't. I don't know what it's called, but there are some platforms where you can just speak and it will write whatever code you need. You can have a website, an app in 15 minutes for $20.
Yeah.
That used
It's
to take
wild.
15 developers,
Oh, yeah.
15 weeks to build.
Yep.
So I'm
Yep.
sure the video editing's gotten similar. I actually used to do video production. I took a few
Oh,
years off the trades and got into that for a small media company. And shortcuts, I mean, the keyboard shortcuts were key back then for
okay.
speeding anything up. Just the cut from cursor back or cursor forward was one of the
Okay. Yeah.
fastest
Yeah.
time savers. But I can imagine that AI has made that irrelevant, or at least
Yeah. I'm
getting close.
sure. I'm sure. And my problem is, I'm so used to, so I do all my editing on my iPhone, actually, believe it or not.
Mm.
And my problem is I'm already familiar with my editing app and I'm very reluctant to try a different app because I'm comfortable with that app. So I'm stubborn enough to complain about how long it takes me to edit and not go out and look for something a little more efficient. So it's a sort of a catch 22.
Have you made any money through your YouTube?
I have, I mean, minimal amount. So last year I made some money on it, but again, then I went by the wayside. I got out of it, and the money I was making from YouTube was sort of supplementing the shop. It was allowing me to do the other projects and buy equipment, things like that. And then it was just taking so much time I got away from it. But now, um, I'm sort of recommitting to the YouTube aspect of it. I'm recommitting to doing more on Instagram with Reels. So there's a lot going on my side, but I also don't want to get burned out. I don't want to get to a point where I'm working on a project and I'm like, oh, I gotta take video here. Let me just rush through it. I don't want to do that. So I want to do it the right way, but I also want to do more of it. And so I'm just trying to figure out what that is right now. So starting off slow, first things first, I'm in the process of this build and doing the YouTube video. Then as I'm doing this, I'm thinking about how I can do more on the Instagram side, and not just overwhelm everything on a daily basis.
Have you ever worked with an editor?
I have not. No, I have not.
Because that might
Mm-mm.
be a way to outsource the kind of more time consuming and overwhelming aspect of it. Level up the quality of videos a little bit, which then might bring in a little more revenue. to the
Okay.
business. And
Okay.
then, because then you can focus on the artistry side,
Right.
being the artist, being the artist that works with wood, and have somebody else create that content so more content can get out there.
Yeah.
Um, and if you can find somebody that's good working, kind of not just an editor, but has a good eye for brand.
Okay.
And so you can say,
Okay.
hey, I'm trying to kind of focus more on looking, branding myself as an artist versus the, just craftsman for hire. And
Yeah.
maybe he can kind of help, she can help with that vision. And eventually, maybe you can have somebody come in with a camera occasionally that gets, kind of those real, real buttery smooth shots that they, yeah,
Yeah. I would
shout.
love that to be able to take that responsibility off my shoulders would be huge. It'd be massive again because it sort of takes away from the craft and the enjoyment of it. I'm trying to find the joy in it, but it takes away a lot. And it's quick to take the steam out or the wind out of my sails when I got to do a long video or something like that. So maybe finding somebody like that is the way to go, especially as I ramp up what I want to do because eventually I want to do this full time, right? Like I
Mm-hmm,
said, I don't
mm-hmm.
have the greatest business plan in place, which I got to work on it, but to get some of this stuff knocked out, maybe concentrate on generating revenue on YouTube side might be the way to go for right now. Yeah.
Have you ever considered teaching, or is that something that,
So I do. So here's the thing with teaching. I don't have a space for it. So I'm in a one car garage right now. I would love to eventually teach. Um, I think that's so here's interesting. There's a school in Reading. It's sort of like a I don't know what you would call it, like an art school. It's called Goggleworks, which is I just took a marketing class over there at Dave Heller. And so they offer everything from metalworking to glass blowing to woodworking to painting, sculpting, all kinds of stuff. It's a huge art school. The the guy who runs their wood shop just took another position at a university. So this position became available, and immediately I was like, "Oh my god, this is what I want to do! Like to run a wood shop in a school would be like a lifelong dream." But the salary, I mean, it was super low, surprisingly super low. So I couldn't do it because it would just change. Like we wouldn't be able to, survive how we're doing it right now. But the idea of becoming an instructor, I would love to do one.
mm-hmm.
So one, I need a space to do it. And two, I don't want to do it until I finish my curriculum. So there's still a few more classes I want to take, and there's still a few more things I want to perfect before I do it because I don't. What I want to do is sort of offer a life cycle approach of woodworking. Right from the very beginning all the way through to like an end project that's a fine woodworking piece. That's what I would want to teach. I would want to teach that full curriculum. Um, there are guys out there like Dave Heller. I don't know if you know who Dave Heller is, but I've learned a lot. Phenomenal teacher. He's out of Charlottesville, Virginia. Heller and Heller Furniture. If you want to learn anything about veneering or marquetry, this guy does it best. And so I'm learning from him right now, not only obviously the techniques, but his teaching style. The one thing when you start getting into the finer side of things, especially with marketing and things like that, there's a way to teach and a way not to teach. And Dave has got this down. I haven't figured out quite what it is yet, but I need to perfect those skills before I take on an endeavor like that. But to answer your question, yes, one day I would love the opportunity to teach. I would.
Is marquetry seems like something that can be done on a fairly small scale.
So it can. It can if you're good.
Okay, okay.
So when you say small scale, do you mean from a size perspective, like from like a
Yeah.
yeah? So
I mean,
so
like a half page of paper or something. Is there
oh
so?
yeah,
I guess my mind was going. Could you teach digitally to your audience that
oh
you build through a Patreon, some paywall, on very simple. Like we're gonna do, this small little square piece of artwork
yeah,
this month, and we're gonna do a very simple dog flower. uh, or
Yeah,
or even a pattern, or just taking two pieces, sticking it together.
yeah.
Here's your paring
I
knife. You could even sell little kits potentially as a.
yeah. So I've thought about
Um,
that. I don't know. Yeah, no. It's you could do it. You could do it, but again, you would have to be able to
Hey guys, Eric here again. I am so grateful for all you that are following and watching and on Instagram. I mean, the conversations have been amazing. I'm just so grateful, and the feedback on the show has been incredible. I want to know more about you. I want to know more about what business you're building, if you are, why you're here, if you're looking to grow, and put that in the comments. I just want to learn more about you so I can help tailor this show to fit your needs. That's it. Back to the episode.
have the right teaching approach
Hmm.
because a lot can go wrong very quick in marketing, which I
Like
found out.
this?
Yeah, like that. Yeah, it's funny. I had a shop teacher who was he missing? These two or maybe these
Oh
two?
my
And he would always
god.
point, be careful. And he would always just point with his two fingers, like, okay, yeah, I get it. Um, but marketing done digitally could be difficult because when things go wrong, it's kind of hard to figure out what went wrong. And so
Hmm.
that's the beauty behind taking these classes with Dave because Dave's been there, done that, and he can immediately tell you what you did wrong and how to fix it.
Hmm.
To do that digitally would get tough. You could do it, but you would. I don't know if I have the right skill set to do that properly, to explain it properly. But it's a great idea to do some type of maybe series on how tos, starting at the very basic level. So yes, you could do it. It'd be very interesting on how to execute that, but it could. And I'll be honest with you, I looked up before I started with Dave Heller. I looked up all kinds of videos on how to do marketing, how to do inlay work, and there are some videos out there, but there is no in-depth video that takes you from step one all the way through the end. It's more high level type stuff.
Hmm.
It'd be great to have something like that. So I'd have to consider it. Yeah, I would definitely have to consider it. It would have to be done in a very specific way, but it'd be interesting to do that. And there's not a lot of people doing it. Maybe there's not a lot of people doing it because there aren't good videos out there sort of explaining the process. There's not a lot of people doing marketing nowadays. I follow a few online, but when you look at the grand scheme of the entire woodworking
Hmm.
world, very few people. It's almost like a dying art. So to be able to have some type of how-to series, that could actually be a really good idea.
Yeah, and then I could also imagine, you don't have the space in your shop, but I could imagine that there are spaces available.
There's definitely spaces available. In fact, the school that I was talking about, Goggleworks, I think you can actually even rent the shop there if you want
Oh,
to do
cool.
class. And that's only maybe 45 minutes from me. So it's not that far.
Hmm. Hmm.
Um, yeah, I mean, it's a great idea. Great idea.
Yeah. I mean, I do hope that you're able to pursue it full time or get there eventually, even if you have to wait for the obligations to go off to college.
Yeah, yeah, college or maybe in retirement or something. But I'll tell you what, I'm just going to be very careful with it because, like I said, with the lessons learned for the cutting board business is there were days I'd
Mm.
wake up and the last thing I want to do was go into and meet these deadlines and meet these builds. So I'm going to be very careful with it. Thankfully, my job's not in jeopardy. Thankfully, hopefully AI takes longer than it needs to. I'll get there one day. I'll get there one
Yeah.
day.
Yeah, it is. It does. You can kill your passion if you turn your passion into
You can. And in
yeah.
fact, a lot of the equipment that I have in my shop right now came from a guy who owned a cabinet shop who just got so fed up with customers and timelines that he walked away from the business. Sold his stuff for, pennies on the dollar. In fact, I got a domino joiner with domino. It was probably a $1,700 setup, and I got it for $500 from him. He just wanted to get rid of stuff. And you see a lot of that. A lot of people they get burned out when it comes to customer demand. So I want to be very careful with how I do it. I don't want to do it for the sake of doing it. I want to do it because I know I'm doing it the right way. So it's going to take some finagling and some thinking on how to do it the right
Yeah, I've seen a lot of people turn their fairly profitable small business and then they grow it to a certain point and then they get overwhelmed.
way.
They
Yeah,
haven't changed their processes or
yeah,
procedures to meet up with their demand, and then they get burnt out, overwhelmed, and
yeah,
they haven't built a sellable business.
yeah, yep.
They've only collected tools.
Oh, yeah,
Um,
right, exactly. Yeah,
and
yep,
that's not an asset. That's a liability because it's depreciating.
yeah, true. Yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah,
and yeah, I think that's the hard thing with a lot of creators and makers is that um, they don't build something that's sellable, um, or something that's able to pay them when they're not using their hands. And then if they start losing digits or
right.
time or motivation, energy, yeah, it's definitely knowing what you're trying to build is, I think, very important before doing it. Because I've
Oh,
seen,
yeah,
yeah, not having
yeah,
that direction or building too quickly without knowing how to get to that next step.
yeah. Or building just for the sake of building. It's
Yeah, yeah. Hmm.
yeah,
The
it'll
ego
catch
says
up to
keep
you quick.
going.
Yeah, 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 yeah. No, agreed.
Sometimes niching down is better. I used to have a handyman company with some employees, and yeah, the whole thing I prefer to be on my own now and just kind of
Yeah,
increase quality.
yeah. It's funny you say niche because I vision myself being in a niche demographic, and that's where I want to be. And I had this conversation with my wife all the time. I don't. I want somebody because some of my pieces, if you consider the labor, can get pretty expensive. Um, and at the end of the day, I don't want somebody buying my pieces because they can afford to buy my pieces. I want somebody to buy my piece because they appreciate what went into it. So, for example, my wife says, "Well, what happens if somebody with $1 million comes up and wants to buy your piece?" So okay, so I'll sell it, but part of me doesn't want to because if there's no appreciation there for the art in the piece or the labor that went into it, passion that went into it. If you're looking to buy a piece because it's unique, one off, and you have something to show off to people, that bothers me. So
Mm-hmm.
I'd rather sell to somebody who just absolutely appreciates what went into it. And that's finding that finding somebody who appreciates it and can also will pay the price you're willing to sell for is very difficult. So it's a very niche demographic. And that's the demographic that I want to be involved. Right. So I don't want to, it's interesting because, from a survival standpoint, I should be building and selling to whoever's willing to buy it. But that's not where my passion is. Like I'll do that. But, if my niche is 1% of the population and I could build for that 1% of that population, like that's the ultimate dream. That's the ultimate dream. I just don't want you buying my piece because you're able to buy it. Like I don't, it bothers me. I don't know. It's crazy. It bothers me. And it bothers my wife too. She's like, if somebody wants to buy it, sell it. Okay.
How are you finding these people, and how do you what's your plan on finding that 1%, half a percent of people that not only can but care?
Yeah, I mean that's the $1 million question, right? It's a million. So I'm not doing any outside of Instagram. I'm not doing any marketing. I'm not doing anything. And I think I'm being naive, but I think ideally what I'm sort of hoping for is just the visibility on Instagram or maybe YouTube where somebody sees this piece and it fits that demographic, right? Because right now there's no marketing, right? There's no need for me to survive doing woodworking. So I'm not putting forth the effort that I probably should be putting forth to find this niche, right? My ultimate
Mm-hmm.
niche, the unicorn niche. So I got to figure it out. So that's the $1 million question. To be honest with you, I don't have an answer for that. I don't know. I simply don't know.
I can imagine actually the art studios being a good place to
Art studio could be a good place. Yeah, I mean, you're right. It could be a good place. You know, there's a, I could be doing. There's a lot of Oh, there's one coming up, not like a, it's almost like a fair or, oh, what are they called? Not a craft show, but it's like a woodworking craft show type thing where you can sort of set up a booth and sort of get your name out there. And I probably should start doing those as well too. But again, it comes down to the time, right? Full-time job, family of five, sports and things like that. I'm juggling a lot of balls right now. And selfishly, I'm sort of hoping a lot of this just maybe falls into my lap, right? That's the dream. But I know I'm not saying I'm being lazy about it, but to carve out that extra time and try and figure it out. And I'm sure I'm not the only one out there trying to figure this
I just
out.
had an idea of, it might be worth studying artists that have become famous, in recent years. What have they done either on the digital or physical side that's gotten their name out there? Has it been a lucky breakthrough social media? Has it been partnerships with other people that are already
Yeah.
famous? Because
Okay.
collaborations might be a great thing. How could your artwork work into somebody else's project that has
That's
a
a good.
huge
Yeah.
audience or the right
Yeah.
audience?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
or could you gift some amazing piece to some, I don't know, celebrity, that
Oh, yeah.
has a need. You've maybe somebody that you've really followed and liked over the years. Maybe they're getting married or something random, and you're like, hey, I've noticed this. I made this for you. Just
Oh, that's a
no thank
that's
you
a good
needed. Just
idea.
send it to them. You
That's
know,
actually a great idea. Yeah.
um, have you
So I've
ever?
done it before. Most of my pieces, I believe it or not, most of my pieces. So I'm up to, I think this is serial number 32, I believe, of all my finer pieces. And I would say out of 32 pieces, I've probably given 10 or 12 of them away. Um, so that's my other problem too. I typically, even though I want to sell things, just typically giving stuff away. So, but uh, but it's nice to get the visibility. Like I've donated a lot of projects, giving stuff away. So I do get some visibility doing that. But
Oh, have you ever done a silent auction with any of your
I
pieces
have done silent auction before. Yep, have done
for high
silent
for a
auction.
very hot for high end organizations?
No, it was no. I mean, it was more of a charity type thing,
Mm.
sort of a small local type thing. But again, so you know, you're making a great point. My problem is I'm just not spending the time to research a lot of this. And this has to change, right? So if I want this to become a reality, a lot of what I do has to change. Like maybe I take, instead of spending, 20 hours a week in the shop, I spend 15 in the shop and I take those other five and I start really educating myself on the marketing aspect or a collaboration aspect of it. So sooner or later, I gotta put forth the effort. I really do. Yep.
Have you do you follow Eric Curtis at all? Ian Curtis, the woodworker?
I do. Well, I did, and then I didn't, and then I do. I watch his videos online. So I'm also very particular who I follow too.
And he has a very particular points of views at times.
Yes, yeah, he does. And so real quick, my videos that I don't do any talking. My YouTube videos are pure, no talk, no
Mm.
music, just the sounds of the shop, right? When I watch other videos and YouTube, a lot of guys that I watch, there's too much talking. There's too much going on, too much distraction, and I'll shut the sound off on it. So, there's guys that I follow. I did follow him at one point, Bourbon Moth. I sort of got away from those guys. Um, but it just, to me, I don't even know how to say this proper without sounding, rude, but, it doesn't seem the passion in what they do is there like it was a couple years ago. Bird Moth is huge.
Mm.
I used to follow him religiously. Now he's grown by leaps and bounds, and it's almost like the priorities sort of shifted. And maybe I'm wrong. But he's getting into other things and doing some odd stuff here and there. So I got away from it. But there are guys that I do follow. Um, Keith Johnson. I don't know if you know of Keith
Mm-hmm.
Johnson, KJ Sawdust, I think is
Yep.
what his name
Yep.
is.
Uh-huh.
And some guys like that. I watch, who's the big marquetry guy? I'm going to say Steve Latta, but it's not Steve Latta. He does a lot of handmade or hand cutting marquetry. I forget his name. Follow him, but um,
Well,
so
the
so
the reason I brought up Eric was because I've been listening to a podcast that he's part of, and he was talking about the art side and the studio side of woodworking,
okay.
and how it seems to be a very clicky, if you come from the
Huh.
background, where it's
Okay.
really hard to get into that sort of high end art world unless you came from that high end art world, whether it
Oh.
was the school you went to your alma mater. Did I say that right? Um, uh, or, or yeah, just you came from a family that comes from that background. It
Okay.
seems like, the ones that get lucky in the art world, it's more of the who you know than the what you know.
It's interesting you say that because are you familiar with Society for American Period Furniture Makers, SAPFM? I think that's what it is. I might be wrong.
No.
It's a society, it's a group of woodworkers who basically dedicate their lives to the purest form of building. So they everything that they build, they're period pieces, right? And they follow period standards. So there's really no technology that goes into this. And if you're using modern day saws and you're not using all hand tools, then you sort of get frowned upon. Well, it's a so you say clicky. They came local one time. One of their annual shows came local, and you had to be a member to attend shows. Well, they had a special one time. I'm not a member. They had a special one time where you could go for one day. You could buy a ticket for one day to go into the event. It was like two events you could go in just to see what it was about, see if you'd be interested in joining. And so a guy that I was talking to prior to going this found out that I was going. He said, I'm going to warn you. He said, these guys, what was the word he used? Um, they could be stuffy, I think is what he said. He said they could be stuffy. Um, and so I didn't know what that meant at the time. I thought I had an idea until I went there. And I walk in. So I'm on the younger side of this. So if you go in, this demographic is, your people who are retired. It's an older generation, right? That's typically what that demographic is. So me coming in as a younger guy, um, and I'm almost 50 years old, but that's sort of younger for that type of membership. But I go in and I'm sort of lost. I don't know where to go. And I got to find my name tag. And so I go up to a guy who's a member, older guy, and I said, "Excuse me." I said, "Can you help me?" Well, he ignored me. I said, "Excuse me, can you give me a hand?" And he looks at me with this look, and I'm like, "Oh boy, like did I do something wrong?" And I said, I'm trying to find my name tag. Can you tell me where to go?" And he goes, "Over there, just over there," and just like sort of shuns me away. And instantly, I was like, "That's what he was talking about." And so I go through these two seminars, and one thing that I realized is a lot of these guys, there's a lot of tribal knowledge when it comes to fine woodworking, right? There's these guys that know the pure process, and for whatever reason, they're very reluctant to share it with the younger generation, right? They hold on to this, right? So you said that they're very clicky, and that's what you instantly remind me of my experience with this member. Now, this is not the entire. This was just a couple guys, and there's a lot of great guys like Dave Heller. He's a big member of this, and everything I know right now I sort of owe to Dave Heller. There's a lot of guys who are willing and able, and they want to teach. And then there's guys part of this group who are, if like you said, if you don't come from the background, or if you don't have that education, they're very reluctant, almost offended. It felt like they were offended that I was there. And I just had this very it was just a very awkward feeling while I attended this conference. But you're right. When it comes to these these clicks or these some of these individuals being clicky, he's so Eric Curtis is 100% correct, and I agree with him 100% because I lived it. And it's a shame, right? What there's not a lot of people doing the period type furniture, and the guys who are doing it's an older generation, older demographic, and there's guys who want to learn, right? Pass on that tradition. Like I said, it's a lot of tribal knowledge, things that aren't really written down, things that guys have figured out how to do, um, that we just want to learn. So I would agree with Eric on that. He's 100% accurate on that statement.
It's a shame, but at least that's not in all of the trades. At least that people that are,
It's not. Thankfully, it's not. And like I said, that's the minority when it comes to the Society for American Furniture, period, furniture makers, I think is what it called. But I was warned going there, and I was like, I wonder what that means. And I sure enough, I found out. But thankfully, it's the minority, not the majority of it. So, but it's just interesting because it's you're right. It's very clicky.
yeah. Well, we've been chatting for almost an hour. I'd love to finish up the podcast with a couple of questions that I've kind of started to put together and asking some of them on a regular basis as I'm
Okay.
figuring out this podcasting thing.
Okay.
Um, and if you have time, stick around for a little bit longer for a little be after show chat.
Absolutely. You got plenty of
Excellent.
time.
Right on. Well, if I mean, I know that you're part time right now, and
Yep.
you're making it profitable isn't your primary focus.
Uh,
But if you had to double your profits right now, without expanding space, without advertising or marketing, and without hiring anybody, what would you do?
well, I would stop giving away stuff for free. That's where I would start. Um, I would have to say I would have to become more lenient on the commissions that I take, right? So I would have to lower my standards. So instead of trying to find individuals who will allow me 100% creative freedom, I start taking on the jobs that people want me to build, and it's to their design and their specs, and I have to respect that. So I would say that would immediately double the revenue that I'm currently generating right now.
Okay. Um, what's the number one most important thing you would give in advice to somebody that was getting into their own business?
Oh, into their business. Oh man,
Yeah.
don't. Yeah. So I could tell you right now, the number one thing I think that killed us when we had a business is we try to grow too fast. We try to grow too big too fast. We forced it. We didn't let it grow naturally. And forcing it, from a financial impact, we went into the red. I mean, we got in over our heads on builds. Like, don't force it. Let it grow naturally. And if it's growing faster than you can keep up with it, then bring somebody in. Maybe consider a partner. We didn't do that. Ultimately, that's what sort of led to our demise, with the woodworking business that we had. We just forced it. We tried to force it, and it just blew up in our face. Just give it a natural flow. Let it progress on its own, and it'll tell you. I mean, it'll tell you if it's going to progress or if it's not going to progress, and then you switch gears. But don't force it. It's one of the worst things you can do is force it.
Yeah. Well, Rick, how do you define craftsmanship?
Oh man, oh God, that's a tough one. I would say maybe based upon the passion that goes into it. Um, I could build quick. I could build any project very quickly. I'm not like bragging or anything. Or I can force myself to slow down and put the passion into it. And I think the second you eliminate the passion from something, the craftsmanship from a physical perspective is still there, but the craftsmanship from like a I don't know, like like the romance that goes into it, the relationship that you have with that piece. The second the passion comes out of it, that's when the true craftsmanship comes out. So I would say don't put yourself in a position where there's zero passion in the project that you're working. Don't force yourself into a zero passion because then you're just building to get the project done. That's all it is. That's all it is. Put the passion into
Excellent. Thank you, Rick.
it. Yeah.
If people want to follow along, see your work, watch your YouTube videos, where
Yep.
can they find you?
So Instagram, RP Basilio on Instagram, and the same thing on YouTube, RP Basilio. So those are the only two social medias that I have right now, but both the same, RP Basilio.
And for those of you listening, that's RPBASILIO. Right
Yep.
on. Thanks, Rick. Let's
Yep.
head on over to the after show. Thank you guys for
Yep.
watching, and I hope you enjoyed that episode with Rick. It was a good one. If you do want the after show, head on over to Instagram, follow us, shoot me a DM, Rick, and I'll send you that link. Also, if you're looking for a little more support, I'm working on something. And if you're interested in something beyond the podcast, then same thing. Head on over to Instagram, DM, but this time type in community. I'll see you over there.